Hey IKTMCers, this is another video for our writing crash course series. This is the fourth video, in fact, and this one will be about a yearbook entry, so reflective writing. Once again, this is a step-by-step guide, and we took the sample from the Hong Kong DSE 2019 Paper 2 Part A. Here we go! That's the question. Why don't you pause the video and read it on your own now. So, from the other three videos that you have seen or hopefully seen already, you know that you should identify these four things when you go into writing. What is your role? What do you actually have to write about? So, your task. Who you're writing to, so that's your audience, and your tone. How should you sound like? And so I noted down that you should be kind of formal and reflective. So breaking it down in further detail, that should be step number 1. So identify your role. You are Chris Wong, 6C, Kowloon Secondary School. So writing things down just creates a lot more clarity before you head into writing. So your task, you have to write a yearbook entry and write about the subject you enjoyed or found challenging. What you'll miss most about 6C is the second part of the task. The audience, mostly Form 6 students. Yes, parents can read it. Yes, other Form students can read it. But really, this sort of memoir is geared towards your classmates in Form 6. Your tone, semi-formal, yet friendly, and reflective. So in your piece, I can imagine you sharing some personal stories or experiences in your Form 6 year. So step 2 is now to figure out a structure. So you can do this in a mind map form like a word bubble, or you can break it down into paragraphs. So this is what I think you should do. So paragraph 1, because it's reflective writing, you can kind of treat it kind of like story writing. So set the scene. I'll explain what that means a little bit later. Paragraph 2, you should then write about what's so interesting about the subject content. Now, I didn't choose to write about what was challenging. I only chose what was interesting. But if you choose what was challenging, or even both, that's fine. Paragraph 3, you should then talk about, hey, you know what made the subject so fun? So I'm sure it wasn't only just the content. It could have been the students. It could have been the teacher and some other things as well. Paragraph 4 would be a great chance for you to share some fond memories of the 6C class. And paragraph 5 should be a sentence or two that shows gratitude and future hopes. So now let's break it down into further detail based on paragraph ideas and language reminders. So when I say set the scene, maybe you can write your first day of the class and what your emotions were going into that class. It's a good way to start in a very story style, okay? Paragraph 2, you have to write something interesting about the subject content. Maybe describe why it's interesting, how it has helped you not only in the subject, but beyond the subject. Did it inspire you to want to pursue more further studies in this field? You can also share some facts or concept you learned in the subject that created an aha moment. I like this subject. It's really cool. That's why I like it so much. The next paragraph should then be, okay, so other than subject content, maybe you can describe the experience, right? Funny teacher, funny students that helped you understand, team spirit, rewards. A lot of these things go into creating a fun, enjoyable class for a subject. On the right here are some language reminders. So present tense, mostly present perfect tense, great to use to talk about experiences from the past up to now. But then also when you are talking about a story, make sure you use past tense. First person point of view is great here. It's a reflective piece, so you basically can use as many I as possible. So make sure to use lots of adjective that describes emotions, okay? It's great to showcase your vocabulary here. Active voice, right? So you don't have to think of passive voice. And yep, facts, use present tense. So the next paragraph, paragraph 4 and paragraph 5. So paragraph 4 details what you'll miss about 6C. So share some funny moments, helpful moments. Were there some picnics, field trips, competitions that you joined that was unforgettable? And the last sentence in closing should talk about how grateful you feel or you have felt going through the entire year or the journey in secondary school. As far as language reminders are concerned, repetition would be great. Rule of 3. So I will miss something, something, something. I will miss something, something, something. I will mostly miss something, something, something. That's just a writing convention. Keep it to 3. Rule of 3. Lots of emotional adjectives because it is a reflective piece. So you have to sound more personal. It's still an exam. You can sound friendly. It should be semi-formal, but you don't want to do something like I wanna bust out in laughter. Please don't do that. This is an exam, not WhatsApp or Instagram or Snapchat or whatever else social media you guys use now. So last statement, can you think of a quote or maybe some wishes for your S6 classmates? Okay, so once you've planned that, so that should be your first 10, 15 minutes. Plan. Then you write based off that plan, but you should always edit. And when you edit, do you have a checklist, right? So, hey, did I write in first person? Was it reflective? Did I use lots of adjectives to sound emotional? Most of my sentences were in active voice. Lots of adjectives here. Clear paragraphs to organize. Okay, remember to show and not tell. And finally, a grateful and hopeful sentence at the end. Did I keep that? Check your spelling, check your punctuation. That's so important. So now let's take a look at this sample. You can pause the video. So once you have read it, okay, now let's go. So in this sample, I'm not going to read this task. What I will do is talk about some conventions that are pretty interesting, right? So the first thing is setting the scene. So here, clearly the student recalls a scene, right? Recall the scene vividly in my mind of people asking me if I learn to interpret maps and geography. Okay, so setting a scene, setting a story captures the reader's attention. Okay, so lots of first-person points of views here. I, all underlined in purple. And then next is good example of descriptive sentence here. Show, don't tell. So take a look. To ram the complex concepts down my throat. So this is completely exaggerated, but again, it keeps things interesting for writing. Okay. Idioms make readers see and connect with the words beyond the box and be down to earth. Okay, so again, use some idioms, use some literary devices to keep your sentences more enjoyable. Okay, I'm not going to talk about the mistakes yet, but there are other ways of just using and. So take a look at this. From the basic knowledge, like to more, so from the to more, that's a good way of saying and, just a different sentence structure. Great transitional sentence here that isn't just firstly, secondly, thirdly. So they really just talk about and describe the previous idea and move on to the next point. Throughout the years of studying geography, I had also found a lot of fun. So that really is a great segue into the next part. Okay, and then he noted some field trip examples to elaborate his interest in geography, and he mentioned nice teachers here too. So mentioning field trips and teachers really creates authenticity, some realness into the writing. So here in the second part where you have to talk about what you'll miss most about 6C. So again, even if you change up some idioms, it is still helpful, all right? And being descriptive. Obviously, this is kind of cringy. 6C is not only a class to me, but also a home. It's cringy. Yeah, it could be a lie, but it doesn't matter. It's an exam. Lie away and sound like you really mean it. Okay, so moving on. Again, a lot of past stories here. I like the fact there were names. Peter, Mary. Names just, again, brings another level of authenticity, some realness into your writing that will score you more points. Okay. So again, more idioms that are kind of changed up, but again, it's great, okay? And great use of descriptive vocabulary here, okay? And the peaceful ambiance of how well we get along, right? So ambiance, frolicking, unwind, all good use of adjectives, and some verbs in here as well. And the last sentence here, grateful and hopeful ending. Okay, so the happy and carefree faces of every member of 6E is deeply rooted in my mind. Okay, rooted in my mind. So again, good verb. Again, very descriptive here. Even though we may separate soon, I will miss every one of 6E until we meet again. Another little idiom here. This wasn't a perfect entry. There were grammar errors. So for example, strived should be strove. I believe this person wanted to write, I really treasure the companionship of Class 6C. So, different word form here. Form 6 form should be capitalized. And if I were to go to the previous example here, I had encountered nice teachers that guided me. So past perfect you have to pair it with past tense. But it doesn't really hinder or affect the overall meaning and flow. Also, there were lack of paragraphs, and for me, it's a bit of a pet peeve. Here, there's one paragraph, 2 paragraphs, 3, and the other one, there really isn't any. And maybe this person was thinking, oh man, I'm running out of space. I really need just to write. But hey, it's not perfect, but it's still scored a level 5, okay? So that is the sample from the HKDSE Paper 2, Part A. From a student. Hopefully you found this explanation video rewarding and helpful. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.